So we just watched Civil War, the new Alex Garland movie, and boy oh boy, I got a bunch of thoughts. So we will tell you in just a minute how we felt about this thing.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. What? Well, you're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you?
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
I'm a OG boy. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my seat, boy. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Odd Popcorn for That review. I'm Chris.
I'm Nick.
And today we're talking about Civil War. So I don't know how your history with Alex Garland is, but I tend to like this guy's stuff. I love 28 Days Later. I loved Annihilation. I even liked Men a lot, which I know is like probably his most polarizing to date, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I liked Men a lot too, and Ex Machina is also fantastic.
Ex Machina is amazing, yeah. So he's really kind of doesn't miss. And actually, the weird thing about this is it looks like he is saying he's retiring after this. So
oh no,
that kind of came out of nowhere. He literally announced that like the movie's coming out, and then he's like, and that's going to be my last one. So Good run. See you guys later.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know exactly what I anticipated with this movie. I didn't really watch a ton of trailers for it. I was aware it was coming. I'm excited because it's Alex Garland. The cast is great. What's the movie about in general? And then we'll get into what we thought about it.
So it's like in a dystopian future America, a team of military-embedded journalists races against time to reach Washington, D.C. before rebel factions descend upon the White House.
Yeah, so the world, we're obviously in a second civil war. We've got a third-term president in the office, which we don't see much of, but played by Nick Offerman. And we've got different factions, which I'm seeing things online about it now that give you more detail. From the movie alone, I'm not sure how clear it is how the different factions are. There's loyalists and there's people that are trying to secede from the Union, and I think it's intentionally a little chaotic and a little murky because that's sort of the point. Is like we're all fighting with each other. We're fighting with our brothers and friends, And so there is actually a point made at times in this movie where it's like nobody even knows whose side. We're just shooting at each other. Who knows whose side's on anybody's on,
right?
Know? So not to skip ahead too much. There's a lot to be said, but we don't talk about these things beforehand. So I'm very curious, just in general. What are your thoughts on this thing? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you in the middle? Are you trying to figure it out?
Hated it. No, I liked it a lot. It was really good. Like you said, he doesn't really miss on his movies. This is not an exception to that either. He does. I think this is a really good movie. There's a lot of tension, a lot of like an interesting story throughout, and so like one of the big things I was curious about is like he's an English guy, but in the trailers, it's like the Texas and California forces, and I'm like, as somebody from Texas, everybody here talks shit about California so much. Like,
yeah, I can't imagine everybody's talking about that right now. Like, how do these two guys get aligned?
But now, because it made it seem like they're secessionists, but you don't get in the trailers, they don't really give you the fact that like this president has become kind of like a fascist dictator almost. So that made more sense. Like, okay, we'll fucking put our differences aside for the common enemy. Because I thought it was going to be like, these states are trying to secede for whatever reason. They're joining an alliance to just destroy the president or whatever. But it turns out that he is actually a third-term president. He's done like all these things. He dismantled the FBI. He's done drone strikes on citizens and dropped bombs and stuff.
So we're kind of following all this along with a group of journalists. Like you said in the description there, like. The journalists are kind of embroiled in the conflict of all of it. I mean, they're on the front lines of everything. And so, they're firing cameras instead of guns, but they're right there at the edge of what's happening. And we're actually moving along with this procession from Charlottesville to D.C. To basically surround the president. And he's really not going to have much of a chance. And as we're going along, you're kind of getting the idea that, like, it's... The forces that are on the side of the president are weakening by the minute. So it's really, there's not a whole lot left to fight against by the time they get to DC.
Yeah, he's kind of
but a lot happens along
game.
the way.
Yeah, because he's kind of talking a big game. Like he's on the radio constantly, and he's talking about like how we've almost won this. That's how the movie kind of starts out. How like we've almost taken this war, beat these forces. The Western Front.
The Western Forces.
Western
I think.
Forces. Well, yeah, that's what they're called.
19 states have seceded.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The three-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
And it's like, actually, it's kind of the opposite. Like, you're just holed up in D.C. with whatever military is still helping you out, and it's basically already over.
I thought they did a lot interesting with the characters here. So you've got, I would say the main crew of people here is Kirsten Dunst as Lee, who is, you get the idea that she's sort of a semi-famous photojournalist. Mm-hmm. She's got, her reputation precedes her. You've got Joel. The actor's Wagner Moura, but Joel is kind of her right-hand man. And then we've got Kaylee Spaney playing Jesse, who is sort of the young gun that's hungry for everything, but maybe there's some naivety there, and it's sort of played up because you've got the juxtaposition of Lee, who is this very jaded, war-torn, really you're getting the impression that she is at the end of her rope. There's no enjoyment left in this. She's just absolutely jaded to the bone. And at first it's sort of a one-note personality, not to critique it, but like, I'm glad we got some depth there, because at first it was just like, oh my God, you are dead inside, completely dead.
I mean, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So they do a few flashbacks to her time, I'm guessing, in like Iraq or Afghanistan, covering the wars there, where you've seen so much death at this point, and you're just kind of used to it.
And then Kaylee Spaney's on the other end of it, sort of naively. It's almost like, oh yeah, somebody's got to get out there and get these photos, and she takes some risky moves, and they don't really want her coming along, and it's like part protective, but there's a little bit of it's not very nice protective. It's kind of like, this girl's gonna slow us down, she's gonna get killed, and then I'm gonna, they're not really being very nice to her. And you've also got Stephen McKinley Henderson, who you love to see. We just saw him on Dune Part 2, but what a great character actor that guy is. And I thought he really added a lot of depth to this, and a lot of like the wisdom of age, and it was a good like little collection of people. You've got this person that's really even more jaded than the oldest person here, and you've got him, you've got Kaylee Spaney, you've got Joel. It was a good crew of people to follow along, and it was a tight enough group that even though like the scope of this movie is so big, it makes it feel like a tight, concise story where you know your characters, and this is the story we're following along with. But man, this thing is so impactful at points, and really multiple times during this movie, I just got the wind knocked out of me by things that I'm seeing on the screen. I mean, it really, you watch enough movies, you start to think like, what could really surprise me?
Right. And
but they kept surprising me, man.
And the like actual shots they used for stills of them taking the pictures were super impactful as well. And
yeah, like every photo looked like it belonged in, journalism photo of the year or something like that. They really paid attention to framing up the shots and creating characters that feel real and feel like they have depth to them. Because like, not just the flashbacks of Kirsten Dunst, but also like the scene. There's a scene where they're going through a town that's sort of operating under this like collective delusion that. It's not like they don't think anything's going on, but they're like, yeah, we know it's going on, but we just try to stay out of it, and it's like, you're just trying to stay out of it. There's no staying out of it. It's everything, and they're like, yeah, it's just best to stay out, Anyway, if you want to try anything on, let me know. And it's like, try anything on.
Come on.
We're so far past that. But then they do try, Kirsten Dunst tries that dress on, and they have a moment of kind of bonding between Kirsten Dunst and Kaylee Spaney. I don't know if I have much that I would call a critique, but I will say, I don't know about you, I'm interested to see how you feel about this, but I was thinking we would get a little more Nick Offerman in this.
Yeah, from the trailers I was thinking that as well, but honestly I'm fine with the role he played in it.
It's not a con for me. But it's just that was the thing that surprised me the most is how little he's really just at the beginning and the end.
And then you just hear him throughout on the radio, kind of.
Mm-hmm. And then Jesse Plemons.
He's also
I'm
a very
assuming.
small part.
I think the only reason that it's not a good enough reason to really think it, but I thought because he's Kirsten Dunst's husband and he's kind of front and center in the trailer that I thought he would play a more central role. He's a very hateable, memorable role here, but his screen time is not very long.
Yeah, I kind of felt like he's in the movie because they're married, because they are in a lot of stuff together.
Well, they met on a movie set.
Yeah.
So
Did they meet in a movie set? Because the first thing I remember seeing them in together was I think Fargo, the TV show season.
That's where
2.
they met.
Okay.
That's where they met. I'm wrong about the movie. It was a Fargo TV show. Yeah.
Yeah, but then they've been in movies together after that, which I'm fine with. I mean, I love Jesse Plemons. I think he's a great actor.
And he does something here that I don't think we've seen from him before, or I can't recall a time where he's played such an evil, unlikable character. But I haven't seen everything he's been in.
Breaking Bad.
Oh,
It's kind of a shit heel in that.
Yeah, I guess my brain is like thinking only movies, but yeah. He is not different character, but yeah, and like I said, Stephen McKinley Henderson. I don't want to spoil much here, but Stephen McKinley Henderson's character really tugged on some of my heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah.
Through part of this, and the biggest thing for me was this just felt like such a singular movie to me. There was so much immediacy to it. It was so impactful in the theater, and I just felt every minute of it. There was no time from my perspective alone. There was no thinking about how much time has elapsed. Is this movie too long? Am I into it still? There was no lull in anything. If the movie slowed down, it felt appropriate.
And it was only like an hour and a half long, too, so it doesn't really give you time to think about that.
Yeah, maybe an hour and 45 or something like that. But yeah, not a particularly long movie. But just there's something about watching an Alex Garland movie where it's just like there's no fat on the page, man. Mm-hmm. Everything has a purpose. Every shot, like you said, every shot is so selected. And
did you end up seeing it in IMAX?
We did not. Trying to save a little money right now.
Yeah,
but it would have been cool to see it on a bigger screen, but I was fine with the smaller screen.
The only reason I suggested IMAX is because the audio. Like, so there's that scene where she's sitting on the couch, and then the next scene is literally just like gunfire. I jumped out of my seat with how loud it was, and like there's jarring moments from the audio that were like really good.
There's quite a few times. I don't want to give somebody who hasn't seen this too much warning, because I think that the impact here is in the surprise element of it. But there's a moment where we first go into the White House and something happens that was surprising to me, and man, the sound design is a huge part of it too. Because they're just really not afraid to be jarring with things in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, even just like there's a couple of scenes like the fighter jets flying over, like the helicopters. It's just so loud, but like very, very impactful.
The scene that it all culminates with, where we finally have made it to DC. So much is happening at once. I'm not even sure I was processing all of it until the whole movie was over. But that last. Again, I don't want to say what it is, but if you know, you know. But that last moment, it's the last lines of the movie. I was just like, oh yeah, the guy can write a script, boy.
It's very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say much more without spoiling it. I feel like
it is hard to say much more, and I think this is one that. I don't think I want to spoil it a whole lot more than that. It's funny because I think most of my thoughts right now about this movie are revolving around kind of my confusion about the reception of it. It's sort of getting like mixed reviews, and I'm sort of kind of like, what do you want from it? Is it that they wanted it to be like even more topical and like not skirt around anything at all and just be like on the face of it, like this is topical. Like we are talking about the current state of politics right now. Maybe if that's what you wanted, this doesn't do that. Maybe it could have taken more risks as far as like pushing buttons of actual people's politics, but that wasn't what I felt myself wanting, for this to like push more buttons or whatever. I think that it did make people think the kinds of thoughts that I think, I can't read Alex Garland's mind, but in my head, the kind of thoughts that you want to put in somebody's mind, it was effective at doing that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be the actual politicians that we have in offices right now or whatever to make the point. So yeah, I'm curious as to, you know, if you guys have seen this movie, let us know how you feel about it. It's not like there's a wrong answer, but the people that are disappointed with this, I'm kind of like, golly, I can't imagine saying I'm disappointed with that.
Right.
It's really, I think that's a movie we're going to be talking about for a long time. It's actually hard for me not to give, it's hard for me not to give that like the penultimate score, but I think, you know, there's a little tiny voice of reason in me that's like, okay, maybe not a full blown 10 out of 10, but I'm going high. What do you think? What's your score?
I'm gonna say 9 for sure. I liked it quite a bit.
I'm saying 9.5 only because I just think it's probably unreasonable to call that a 10. I've only given one 10 out, and I guess this isn't my second one, but the recency bias in me right now is saying that's pretty much a 10, dude.
Right.
Like I really I look forward to watching that again. I would watch that in theaters again, you know, and maybe in IMAX just to see how the sound design affects all of it, because specifically the one person I don't think I talked about much here, I thought Kirsten Dunst showed out completely. You know, I think Kirsten Dunst is always good, but this is like a standout role for her, I thought, and especially like feels like we haven't seen a big role from her in a long time, so it was good to see her doing something so, you know, like heavy and it had some weight to it. I don't really know Wagner Moura from much.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I thought he really excelled here, yeah. And also Kaylee Spaney, you know, I missed the Priscilla train because I'm kind of the anti-Elvis fan, and I skipped Priscilla, but I know Kaylee Spaney's getting a lot of buzz right now, and she's kind of the hot ticket item here, and I can see why. I think she showed out here too. Yeah. I don't think anybody was really a weak cog in the machine. So hell of a movie. More like you know, 2024 is turning out to be
pretty good.
Turn
so
out
far.
to be all right.
Yeah.
We will see you guys very soon and look forward to seeing you in the next video. And thanks for watching as always. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Thanks.
See ya.
Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my seat. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my